I mean, it's just textbook in how to ruin a brand. Remember that movie? Was it Kate Hudson, How to Lose a Guy in 10 days, 9 days? How to lose a brand overnight. I mean, really and truly, just in a matter of days, you saw this just ricocheted. And I think it's going to continue to do so, because as I look at some of the other brands within their portfolio, and I'm talking about Budweiser, I'm talking about Stella Artois, all of them are also seeing a decline in sales. Now, you could say on the one hand, maybe that's just that people are diversifying and they're finding new things to drink. Or maybe it's that customers have figured out, quite literally figured out, that this company is more than just Bud Light itself. And so they're now saying, well, wait a second, I don't want to actually patronize any of these brands. And consequently, you see the decline in Stella Artois, you see the decline in Budweiser. I mean, there's a whole bunch there. And the beneficiary happens to be Constellation. The other beneficiary I've talked about before, in fact, I have a very good friend, very, very smart investor, who within days of this whole scandal breaking with Dylan Mulvaney said, you know what? I'm going to go buy shares of Molson Coors. I told you about that. He actually just sold them, interestingly, because I think they're up some 20 some odd % in that time. His feeling was people were going to make that trade, and they were making the trade to things like Miller Lite. Miller Lite has run into a couple of things as well. We've talked about it. Some of their influencer commercials that they've put out have caused people to kind of scratch their heads and say, I'm not really so sure about this company. But it wasn't as egregious, shall we say, as what we saw with Dylan Mulvaney. It didn't touch the same nerve. And thus, I do think that it hasn't suffered the same fate. So their stock has done really well, while, what do you know, Anheuser-Busch is down some 15%. So nearly $30 million in market cap loss. Just unbelievable. And what this really should be, is a wake-up call to the ESG community. Environmental, social governance, DEI, diversity, inclusion experts out there that want to somehow score a company and decide whether or not to invest in it based on whether they think it is environmentally, socially friendly enough. Because being great on ESG doesn't necessarily mean you're going to be great when it comes to shareholder returns, because we little, consumers, we have some say in things now, do we not? And boy, did consumers make their voices heard